Have you ever stubbed your toe with such excruciating pain that you just want to lie down and cry? And then, no matter what you did, that pain would not go away. It would stay with you for days and days. No matter what, that pain would stay with you. Yeah, that sucks. But do you know what sucks even more? Missing the newest episode of Cosmere Chronicles! The podcast where we follow two first-time readers who happen to be called Justin and Sheta, and we chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. Today, we'll be covering chapters 28 through 35 of Elantris. And now, time to throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe! Why, thank you, Joe. Hey, everyone, and yep, as he said, this is Cosmere Chronicles, or, C squared for short. I'm Joe, and I am once again, joined by Justin and Sheta. How are you two doing this morning?
Just great.
Also just great.
Well, that's good. Yep.
It's great.
Yeah, we said great.
All right. I'm not doing a Tony the Tiger impression.
Oh, you just disappointed thousands of people.
No, I didn't. Yeah, we're starting to get into it with Elantris. It's and with this week, this will mark our first time that we've had some notable deaths on our podcast.
Yep.
So we'll start off with the segment I forgot to do last week, so we'll bring it back this week. Justin did it last time, so Sheta, we'll have you, just give us a synopsis of not the chapters we read for this week, but last week's episode of our podcast.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought my notes were here. I mean, I'm doing this from memory.
The people are waiting.
Okay. Last week, we saw Raoden and Galadin. They all went to talk to the other gangster lord, Shaor, and they found out it was a little girl, Duke Towery's daughter. That was a big twist. And then also, Sarene showed up in Elantris with her wagon of food for all the Elantrians. And Raoden recognized her. And Sarene and Raoden finally meet, but Sarene does not recognize Raoden, even though she's all like, what's up with this guy? He's kind of handsome. And then Hrathen is watching all this, and he's kind of annoyed by Sarene doing that. He's also getting really paranoid that Dilaf was slowly trying to mess with him and take over his deal. And he's getting kind of emo about his faith and his lack of faith. Raoden and Sarene are helping. I have the note saying Raoden helps Sarene serve in the soup line, and they flirt a little bit. Hee hee.
Hey, using notes is cheating.
Well, that's just my personal thing to help me, like my things of note in the chapters. But yep, Raoden has to kind of keep away from his old friends because they might recognize him. But that meant that he was gravitated towards Sarene because she didn't know him before, and he really likes her. And let's see. Oh, everyone of Raoden's followers left because of Sarene's food. Sarene's given them like stuff to have them because they're the gang people, or she thinks they're gang people, so she's given them like bribes to let those people get to the food. We also learned Galadin's curious past. His father was an Elantrian, and so he's been
I'm
here.
Cut in. You are doing way too detailed of a synopsis.
Okay,
you're basically doing what Joe did last time when you went through the whole book.
Okay, sorry. I'll just do the highlights. Okay, but that was really important.
Say
that's why people listened to the podcast last time.
Okay.
Tone of your voice, the way you're saying it's like, then he did this. In all honesty, even though yours is more accurate, it makes me think of Caboose, giving a description of what happened.
Okay, sorry. All right. They just find a video game type puzzle room, Elantrian one, and they found a pool that will dissolve people. Then Sarene feels insecure about the men in her life. Then Raoden gets shocking news that the king isn't broke. Then Hrathen drinks a potion. That's it. Is that enough?
Yeah.
That's more like it, Sheta.
Well, to be fair, at least she did hit the points. Last time you did it, Justin, you missed a bunch.
I don't know. That's not how I remember it.
You didn't say anything.
Well, Sheta, you get a point of inspiration.
Yoo-hoo!
You can add it to a skill check or an attack roll.
Okay. Can I use it as a reroll?
Nope.
Okay.
It's like a bardic inspiration.
Okay.
All right. Anything either of you two want to say overall about these chapters before we dive deep into them?
No. Just that they took me off guard a little bit.
Yeah, you've been saying that every week.
Yeah, well, these ones really did. They're not fucking around with starting the second part of this book.
Yeah, we got right to business.
I guess we need to ask a question. Does ritualistic sacrifice count as serial killer?
Yes, 100% it does.
Oh my gosh.
No questions in a million years.
You'll definitely, when you said that, you're like, yeah, it's not going to be that. You know, and Sheeta and I both laugh. I fully knew what was coming.
And I was stupefied when that happened. I was like, no
Yeah.
freaking way. Justin.
All the evidence was there.
That was no, there was no
What do you mean?
evidence.
All the evidence was there. All the narrative evidence, I should say.
Well,
We
yeah,
got two mysteries introduced around the same time. That's the logical answer to what's happening there.
Yeah, no,
Just
you're
the
not
fact,
wrong.
Justin, you said multiple times, yeah, it's not going to be that, but that's the only thing that my mind can go to. Yeah, it's
I was
completely
downplaying.
wrong.
Well, I didn't know that. See, this has not been. I mean, the Elantrian stuff is pretty fucked up, but more, for the most part, this has not been a particularly violent or mean-spirited book. So I didn't expect things to take such a horrifically dark turn so quickly. Now I'll know that those theories are not just probable, but very, very likely.
Sanderson, yeah, with his writing, he doesn't go like his stuff's not really that dark, but he does hit on dark stuff throughout the stories.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's go into chapter 28. So it begins with Raoden is in the library that they had found. He's trying to figure out where he should start reading. He's also restricted the knowledge of the library to only himself, Galladon, and Karada, because he doesn't want another instance like what happened to Eondon and a lot of people starting to eat the books. He's also keeping the pool a secret. You know, he has only told a simplified explanation of the pool to Marishi and Seolin, but he feels that if the Elantrians knew about the pool, then they would choose the pool way too quickly. Karada found books that would help Raoden with his studies. He is learning more about Eondor with these books. Learns that the door exists in a place full of pressure, and the energy pushes through any viable exit. It can only enter the physical world through gates of proper size and shape. An Elantrian drawing an Aeon would create a rift, and they would also determine, and the Aeon would also determine the energy that the door takes when it comes out. However, if even one line was the wrong proportion, then the door would be unable to enter. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
It was interesting to hear the magic described out more, because we talked about the soft magic, hard magic, and that stuff. But hearing him actually explain this stuff all like, the borderline scientific or mathematical logic behind it was very interesting to me because it really showed me what this magic system is.
Yep, I called it door theory. We learned a lot about more door theory.
Yeah, door theory.
Yep. It's like, okay, it's magic. No, I liked it.
In Raoden, he is not able to find what made Aeon Door stop working. His only guess is that the door was changed somehow. For example, the door is now a triangle instead of a square, so no matter how many square Aeons Raoden drew, the energy just couldn't get through. Later on, Seolin is telling Raoden that his men have too many injuries, and they won't be able to hold back Shaor's men anymore. Seolin has a plan, though. He's going to lay a trap and ambush Shaor's men. Raoden agrees to let Seolin do this, but Raoden feels guilt about it. If Seolin loses, then the wild men would wind up breaking through. If Seolin wins, then the death or incapacitation will come to dozens of Elantrians on both sides. People that Raoden feels like he should protect. So in a way, Raoden feels like no matter which side wins, he winds up losing. And then we do another POV switch. We jump back into Sarene's POV. And Sarene can tell that there is something wrong with Spirit. He seems nervous. She wants to ask him what is wrong, but she cannot. She's been cold to him and has rebuffed his attempts at friendship too much that she cannot open up to him now and ask him what bothers him. Just like in Teod, she has locked herself into a role. During the time when they're giving out food, Spirit pulls Sarene aside and asks if she remembers that he had told her that not all Elantrians are docile. Spirit tells her to be ready and to keep her guards close. She can see some sort of guilt in his eyes. She could tell that he was hiding something big from her. They go back and they begin handing out the food, and Spirit seems to relax. And then the yelling begins.
They really got me. I really believed when he relaxed that everything was going to be fine. I don't know why I thought that. I usually expect the worst.
No, I was like, shit's going down for sure.
Yeah, it was obvious it was going to. I don't know why I fell for that one little second.
Chapter ends. Seolin just comes back. We did it. Everything worked out.
Well, I thought it would, lead to a few more chapters of this, but I'm starting to realize plot points move pretty damn fast in this book. They don't sit around for that long. I guess I'm so used to modern TV where they tread water for so long because they have no story to cover. I forget that, in an actual written thing that the writer has shit to do. He doesn't want to do nothing forever.
Oh, they don't just have quotas to fill? Yeah.
So the story swaps back to Raoden's POV, and Seolin comes out of an alley fighting against 4 opponents until one of Shaor's men smashes a cudgel against his leg and Seolin falls. Then nearly 24 howling madmen spill out of the alleyways. They went after the noblemen, and the Elantris city guards weren't ready. But Iadon appears and begins taking them down. He fought the wild men easily until the Elantris city guards are finally able to join in. And then the guards and Iadon, along with the noblewomen, leave through the gate until there's only Sarene and Raoden left in the courtyard. One of Shaor's men falls at their feet with his belly sliced waist to neck. And, Shaor's man, he's just on there saying that all they wanted was a little bit food as he turns into an Hoid. Sarene, obviously upset about this, she calls out Raoden and says that he was holding food back from them. Raoden says that, yes, he was. Sarene calls him a tyrant and a heartless despot, and Raoden agrees that he is. Sarene stumbles over one of the bags that Raoden had overstuffed with food for the Hoid. And obviously that also upsets Sarene. She says that she almost began trusting him, and then she leaves Elantris. Shaor's men don't follow her, and they just go after the food in the cart.
I like how everything that could make him look bad happens one after the other right there.
I know, it's so tragic. Like, no, don't look at that. Like, don't think that. It's so tragic.
We've also got Raoden in a place of mind where he probably feels so guilty about what's happened here to, his trusted man and stuff. He's just like, yeah, I'm terrible. I agree. And then, this is what he wanted from the start, just not like this,
And the other thing too, with on Sarene's side, she's been looking for a reason not to trust him.
Mm-hmm.
So even though if she saw the stuff, if she did try to get an explanation, he might have been able to explain it, but she never wanted that.
I don't know. You'd have a pretty hard time explaining a man slashed in half yelling, "I just wanted food," while a bag of food this guy is sneaking off falls over. It just does not look good. I don't know how you'd explain that. And if he explained, well, you see, they're part of this weird cult that's following this little kid. They don't actually work. They're like animals, actually, and we're actually using the food to blah, 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 blah. You'd be like, you're full of shit. No way.
Sad. They'll never reunite at this point.
So then Raoden goes over to Seolin, who has become a Hoid, and just keeps repeating, "Failed, my lord. Failed, my lord. Failed, my lord." Raoden moans in despair and cradles Seolin until long past the time that Shaor's men have left with the food. And then a sound shakes Raoden out of his grief. The gates of Elantris are opening once again. That's the end of the chapter. Anything else you guys want to bring up with this chapter?
I don't know why every time they talk about Seons being left alone in the dark, it really freaks me out. Because the way he writes it is, because Raoden's old Seon's fallen him, and so they just like left it alone, and it really creeps me out. Do you get that too, Justin?
I don't get that, but I get why you get that, because they seem like they're sentient, So just stuffing them somewhere or leaving them to the side like they're not alive is all creepy to you, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, you shouldn't treat things like that can think. Well, like the way he writes it too. I think he's doing it on purpose.
I think of them more like robots, though, where they're not like, quote, alive, They're just like, a simulacra, the word that I'm looking for.
I think that too, but the way he writes it is that Raoden and Galadin leave, then they leave him in there alone in the darkness, and that's just the end of that part. And I was like, you write that like that, like I'm excited to find out more about them. That's all.
Oh, there's going to be some kind of thing with them for sure. They've been referenced too many times. They're floating around. There's a secret with them of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably guess it. They're all serial killers. That must be it.
The balls of light are serial killers.
Every single one. Yep.
Oh, it'd be creepy if they were like actually sinister though. I didn't trust them at the beginning, but now I feel bad for them.
I don't think they're sinister. I think they're just tied to the ancient magics in a way that has not fully been revealed yet.
Okay, that's good. I don't want them to be sinister.
That's good. Like I'm assuring you, like I know that they're not just going to start like Daleking everybody all of a sudden.
You're going to call it again. You have a better sense for these things.
They're Daleks. That's what it is.
Okay, next chapter.
I haven't watched Doctor Who, so I don't know exactly what Daleks do.
They kill
exterminate.
all life. Exterminate. That's all they do. They kill everything. Everything that's not a Dalek must die.
So it's
just cut to that day.
So it's somewhat similar to Borg, but they're killing instead of assimilating.
Yes. I don't know which one I'd rather be forced to fight, honestly.
Anything else for this chapter?
Nope. Oh, Serene's political senses are tingling. Is what I wrote. When she's sensing stuff with spirit. I think that line is basically in the book. So, okay, that's it.
All right, on to chapter 29. So Sarene is sobbing in the carriage that she is riding in. She tells Ash that she should be happy because she was right all along about Spirit. He had been withholding food from the people, and they had finally gotten hungry enough to fight back. She had known what he was doing, so why does it hurt, or why does it bother her so much? Sarene knows that the work she has done... knows that the work... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. It's because she has her heart broken for the first time. That's why she's upset.
Well, she still hasn't admitted to herself that she has feelings for this creepy zombie guy.
Yeah. It's like that sometimes.
The creepy zombie guy that was always holding big secrets from her.
Mm-hmm.
He likes mysterious guys, so
probably.
He's tall, dark, and mysterious. That's like the most attractive thing ever. I feel for her.
So, and now Sarene knows that all the work she had done to help the Elantrians is all over. No matter what people had seen over the past week with the Elantrians, all they are going to remember now is the attack. Sarene looks out of the carriage and sees Iadon's personal guard heading for Elantris. The look in their eyes is a look to kill and slaughter. So Sarene,
that was scary. When they opened the door, I thought it would be something, but I didn't imagine it would be something that horrifying, like that quickly things would escalate. I thought that would be the next couple chapters of political intrigue trying to decide whether or not to kill the Atlantrians.
Well, when they opened the gate, was it the guards?
I don't think so, but when I was reading, it sure seemed like it was going to be.
I think that was what he was going for.
Mm-hmm. So I'm saying in the moment I could feel.
All right, so Sarene immediately heads to the palace and into Iadon's study. She and Iadon argue about how he is sending the guards in to kill the Elantrians. Sarene demands that he calls off the guards. Iadon refuses, but Sarene belittles him. She tells him that if he doesn't, then she will tell everyone how he was only able to be king because of what she did for him. He is a failure and has taken a great nation and ruined it. How would it feel for the entire court to know that he is indebted to a foolish woman? He's nothing more than insecure, trivial, incapable, invalid. That all this just really just kind of destroys Iadon, and he writes a countermand and stamps it with his personal seal. Ash tells the guards to stop, and Sarene gives a nearby guard the countermand to run it to the guards at the wall. Sarene leaves Iadon's study, and she can hear him sobbing to himself.
Sad.
I could not believe that she was able to destroy him so utterly there. Because, I never thought this guy was that cool, but I thought he had more of a spine than that. I was so shocked to see how easily she knew him so well. I thought she was going to say all that and he was going to be like, haha, you don't know me at all. But then he starts sobbing and I'm like, I had no idea he was that weak.
Throughout the book, that's all we've learned. It's like he's paranoid and all that.
Yeah, but there's some pretty, people like Stalin were paranoid and they're pretty scary and tough, but Iadon was this he seems like what a merchant king would actually be like. I think I've said that multiple times.
So Sarene heads to the Elantris wall and she makes sure that the guards there got the order and that they left. And then she goes to the top of the wall. And as she looks into it, she is shocked to see that a person that was separated into at the waist is still on the ground moving. She sees other bodies moving as well. And this is where she's able to put together, what people have been talking about, saying that the Elantrians are dead. And she realizes that the Elantrians never actually needed to eat. While looking down, she is able to spot Spirit, who is holding a body in his arms. She tries to be angry with him, but she got sad at thinking that she was never going to see him again. And she thinks about how perhaps only a tyrant could rule in Elantris. Even though he was bad, maybe he was the best man that those people had.
I was like, yes, that's right. Forgive him. We can be together again.
So Sarene, she goes to Kain's place to take comfort because it's the only place that she feels safe right now. And Lukel jokes with her about how she yelled at Iadon into submission. Her voice had resounded all the way into the main hall of the palace. Sarene says that Iadon isn't going to react well once he recovers. Kain says that monarchs cannot afford to be reprimanded in public, and so everyone in their little group might wind up having a harder time of things. And then Shaod shows up, and he tells them that he has some interesting news. They are not going to believe who the Shaor took last night. And that's where the chapter
called it.
ends.
You called what?
You called it again.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised that you didn't believe that. That one seemed pretty obvious to me.
Well, I thought it was probably likely, but
yeah,
you were the one that said it. You're the one that thought of it.
Justin thought it right away. Like, I need to get this stuff from him. Doesn't think poison. First thing he thought is, he's going to make, Sarene and Iadon look like they got the Shaod.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was going to be Dilaf. That was hilarious to learn, but yeah.
That would have been fun for Dilaf.
No, that would not have been fun for Dilaf.
Oh, yeah, wait, he hates them.
Yeah.
He might, killed himself.
Probably.
Yeah, no, but it's not a polyjuice potion. So my theory's out.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
Anything else from this Sarene chapter that... Oh, wait, I remember one other thing I wanted to talk about was about how, while they were in there, just a fun little thing where you had KZ and Daorn just arguing, and KZ being upset with Daorn that he got sick, so she wasn't able to be at Elantris. She wanted to see this whole, battle or whatnot take place.
I wonder what that girl, what she's gonna do, because they spend a lot of time talking about her and how how cool and smart she is. I don't know. Maybe he just likes writing smart little girls, but yeah, I don't know. Seems like it's more, might be more. I really liked in here that Sarene, even though she was really mad and felt really betrayed and hurt by Spirit, when she heard that they were sending in guards to she was all worried about him, and she ran to defend him and save his life. Even though she was mad, she still cared about him. Oh, she was just like, I don't want to die. Like, oh, this is so romantic.
It was really interesting to see because we've only seen Sarene as the, conniving diplomat type. To see her in an emergency, that she doesn't panic, she's quick thinking, straight to the point, She knew that now was the time to play all her cards on Iadon instead of holding or any of that stuff. It shows that she's as clever as she thinks she is, and as serious about this as she thinks she is.
Yeah. I also thought that she would never that. Like, I thought that, but then I think that she would forgive him, especially if he explained.
It would only be if there was an
That made me hopeful.
explanation. That's the only way. Also, just think of
Yeah.
how much it would have fucked over Hrathen's plans if they would have come in and killed all the Atlantrians right then and there while he was trying to get in there.
Oh, yeah.
They just would have killed him.
I know.
Yep.
Everything he's trying to do, he would have been like, shit, I made the wrong damn choice here.
Wrong day to be an Elantris.
Yeah.
He would have had his breakdown one day later.
Yeah. But I'll be honest, I was really starting to question my thoughts about Iadon after that chapter. Because I'm like, oh, this guy's not interesting or cool at all. He's just a loser. One of those theories turns out to just be straight up true, but my Iadon's responsible for the downfall of Elantris theory. I think I may have to relinquish that one. But I'll
He's
give
the
it a pass.
mastermind.
I'll give it a pass if it turns out that the mysteries are responsible for Elantris' fall. Then I'll still count that one as.
Okay.
Do you still think that he gave Raoden the Shaod?
You see, I would have thought that until what happens a little bit from now makes me think no on what happens to him. I would think that you would want to keep him around if you wanted to have a revelation like that.
Well, I think that it could be a test, like histories. Like, give this to your sons to test your loyalty, and I got to sacrifice.
I don't think the mysteries are that complex. I think they're your basic sacrifice virgins to the gods for random shit kind of cult.
Just your garden variety, like
Yeah.
sacrificial cults.
I mean, there's a lot of them, so especially in fiction.
Move on to chapter 30, another short chapter.
I gotta say, I'm so pissed all these Hrathen chapters are just like a page and a half. Every time I'm like, all right, time for a Hrathen chapter. What's he got? Oh, it's over. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, Hrathen chapters tend to be the shortest.
They didn't used to be.
With the three, they were always shorter than Raoden and Sarene.
Mm-hmm.
But not with these. With chapter 30, so Hrathen, he does not try to hide his transformation with the Shaod. He walked out openly while Dilaf was giving the morning service, and Dilaf stumbles back in shock. Hrathen smiles to himself when he sees Dilaf's eyes openly hating him for the first time. And then
the openly hating was very funny to read. Like he's been holding it back this whole time, and now he can finally just let it all out.
And then we see Hrathen get, all the, cleaning and preparation they do with the, people that get sent in. And while he's being prepared, Omen, the Karathi priest, his eyes betray a hint of satisfaction. Hrathen has to wait a few hours for Iadon's guards to leave, and then for a certain time of day. And then he gets put into Elantris. Once Hrathen gets into the city, he drops to his knees and begins praying over and over again. And that's where the chapter ends.
I don't believe Omen's eyes had a hint of satisfaction.
I think that was Hrathen's distortion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything you want to talk about with this chapter?
Well, it seems like he's doing exactly what I expected him to be doing when he gave himself that.
Didn't you say that? Wasn't your thing that he was going to make himself look like he got taken by the Shaod and then murder Iadon?
Yes. That's what I said.
I never said he was going to murder. How would that help him
I
murder
said
Iadon? No,
I said
Yeah.
that.
he just was that
Sheeta-
he was going to take the polyjuice potion and murder
Oh yeah.
Iadon.
Yeah. Apologies.
No, I figured he was going to take the potion and, I mean, it's cheating now because it reveals it, but, and try to make it look like God had cured him so that he could get a better status. That was always my theory about why
You
he would do that.
100% called it, Justin.
That's
Well,
right. Everything I say turns out to be true, Sheta. Every single thing.
oh my gosh.
So does that mean that everyone's dying?
Did I say that?
Your original, after 10 chapters, your original hope was that Hrathen would have to choose between his religion and Sarene, and then they make friends with, and then he'll put Sarene to the sword. They'll destroy all of Elantris, and pretty much Fjordell will kill everyone and take over.
Well, that was my hope. That's not my theory. It's very different.
All right,
Why is
we'll move
Raven
on.
so... Oh. Raven is so hilarious. Why is he so funny? When he was just...
Is he?
Yeah, he just says the funniest thoughts. He goes... They're bringing him into Elantris, and then he says, the priests offer a final prayer to their pitiful god. And then they push him in. And I was like, why are you so petty all the time? Like, and then he prays all loudly to his god, like all dramatically. He's just the funniest. And then when he was standing on the wall and he thought looked really cool in his armor, like, oh man.
Because he takes
I
himself
just,
so seriously, but his whole life has to be a performance because of what his role is, you know? But he's not the kind of guy who would probably do that if he wasn't required to, you know? So
yeah.
he's kind of a weird juxtaposition of like what he really is inside and what his orders and his faith demand of him, you know? That's what I think, at least.
Yeah. Oh, he's just the funniest. I just love him. Okay.
So on to chapter 31. So it begins with Raoden putting Seolin into the pool, and Seolin melts away. They had waited
Sad.
they had waited 2 days hoping that Seolin would regain his wits, but he never did. Raoden put Seolin into the pool both because of all the wounds that Seolin had, and also because Raoden couldn't go into the Hall of the Fallen and hear Seolin say, "Failed, my lord," over and over again.
It was so interesting to me that he knew and he admitted to himself that there was a selfish reason for why he was having him move on to whatever it is that they're doing there. Because I was really surprised when they were doing that to him because their thought process had been we don't have the right to choose that for other people, you know. So when he did it for him, I was very surprised. So when they explained it that way, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense, and that Raoden doesn't have a lot of faults, but it's interesting to hear that he could not handle that. Like, that's just a step too far for his willpower with all he has to do.
You mean like his wanting to jump in the pool?
No, about him putting in his guard into there, saying that he couldn't take him saying, "I failed you, my lord. I failed," over and over every time he came past him.
Yeah. As he melted away too, I'm sure. That would be so sad.
Yep, and then that is our first, I would say notable death in the book, unless if you count like the, unnamed Elantrian they put in the pool before or whatnot. So we should pour one out for Seolin.
Yeah. He was great. I thought he
I
was
should have
so
known
cool in the
something.
previous chapter.
Yeah, I should have known something bad was going to happen to him when he, one, kept coming in and saying his name over and over to make sure we knew the name, and was so goddamn useful and badass with getting the stitches and stuff. That was him, right? I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like they really made an effort to make sure that of all the characters, you knew this guy and you liked him because he was cool. I should have been like, oh, he's fucked. But again, I didn't know I didn't know yet that was this kind of book. I thought it'd be one of those things where everything works out for everybody, because things have been pretty smooth so far.
So Raoden goes back to New Elantris, and people have begun returning to New Elantris as they realize that Sarene and the food is not going to return. And there are now more people in New Elantris than there were before Serene's trial had begun. Raoden has to admit that her excursions ultimately wound up helping. The people now know that simply filling their bellies with food isn't enough. And so now they are in New Elantris and they are no longer working for food. Later on, Raoden and Galladon are watching Hrathen in the courtyard praying. It has been 3 days since he entered Elantris and he has done nothing but pray. Raoden says that they will invite him to join them once Hrathen realizes that he is not going to wind up going anywhere. They see some of Shaor's men coming up to attack Hrathen. Shaor's men have changed and now attack indiscriminately, as if they have realized that the fewer months to feed will make it more likely that they themselves will get food. Raoden and Galladon are about to go in and save Hrathen, but Hrathen suddenly gets up and just simply destroys Shaor's men. Hrathen then returns to praying, and Raoden thinks about how he had heard that all Derethi priests were trained at the monasteries.
Yeah, Hrathen's Yorn Fu that he does. That was fun. I would like to see that.
Sheta, I'm sorry. Did you just say Yorn Fu?
Yorn Fu?
Oh my goodness.
Because kind of like, whoa, can people move that fast? He was like, shaw, shaw. Just like.
It was badass. He fucked those guys up so hard, you know?
Oh.
And this is when he's in some kind of weird thing, too.
Yeah, like he's sick, but he's still.
Mm.
They didn't stand a chance. I was really
No,
looking
those guys.
forward. Yeah, I was
That's
really
what I thought it
looking
was
forward to
interesting.
seeing it because they said that they were trained in the monasteries, and I was really looking forward to it. So.
Mm. It was interesting, too, that he didn't really, I mean, maybe a little, but he didn't really use more force than he needed to, you know? Because I think he fucked up the one guy, but the other one got away okay. You know, like he didn't just brutally kill them all, you know?
I know they broke one of their necks.
Yeah, but it seemed like he's not really worrying about their safety, but he's also not trying to specifically, hurt them like out of malice. It just seemed more self-defense-y.
Raoden, he regrets what Hrathen had done to those men because Raoden believes that they could have used them. And then, a little bit later, Raoden leads Galladon, Karada, and Dash into Shaor's territory. Dash, if you had forgotten, was Karada's second in command.
Mhm.
All right, so they walk directly into the bank, and they are followed in by some of Shaor's men, who are just waiting for the order to kill. They all drop bags filled with corn that spill out, and Shaor's men descend on the corn. Shaor orders to kill them, but her men are too busy stuffing their mouths, so Raoden and the others leave.
Yeah, that was a badass moment, too. Just like, he's had enough of this shit.
And then Raoden, he has set a fire on the top of a building and is waiting. Shaor's men need to see the fire to make the connection and come back to sensibility. One of the men shows up. Raoden talks to him and tells him that it has only been 6 months at the most since that man was put in Elantris, and that is not enough time to forget language. The man says, "Cook." The corn that Raoden had left was seed corn, so it's too hard to eat and it would be painful to chew or swallow. Raoden had hoped that they would recall civilization and the ability to cook. He hoped that they would confront their humanity. Raoden tells the man that he won't cook the food for him, but he will let him do it himself. Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
Nope. Just the Yorn Fu.
You had to say it again, huh?
Yes.
I almost feel like you should be ashamed of that, and yet I love it, so I can't say.
Ah! I knew it.
No. She should feel ashamed.
Should she?
I
I
am
don't
not.
know.
I'm proud.
This is going to be a thing where in 3 chapters it's referred to as that.
Yeah, I called it. Well, now that Justin said it, it is
When
going
he's
to
got
be
to
official.
challenge Dilaf, and he's like, "We'll see who's truly a master of Jorn Fu."
Yeah, Dilo will reveal that he is actually an old master, and he'll do the Bruce Lee.
Oh,
Come
God.
on.
No, thank you. I'm done with
Okay,
it.
no, stop this.
I quit.
Next chapter.
I quit the podcast.
Well, we'll go on to chapter 32. All right, so begins with Sarene is accompanying Royal to a ball that he is throwing at his mansion. Sarene is the one who had convinced him to throw the ball and specifically chose this night, the night of an eclipse. Royal tells Sarene that she needs to stop moping. She has been doing it for the past 3 days, ever since the attack on Elantris. Their group, they didn't ask for her leadership, but now she has it. Shaod and Eondel all but worship her. Cain and Lucal stand by her side like unmoving stones, and even Ahon describes her as the most delightful young woman he's ever met. Royal asks her not to leave them now. They need her.
Royal is being really sweet in this episode.
So Sarene says that their time of danger has passed, but Royal says that Iadon is more clever than they give him credit for. They also may have wound up trading Hrathen for a foe of equal danger. Dilaf is an Araline and was likely raised Karathi. Royal finds that those who turn away from faith are often more hateful towards it than outsiders.
That was an interesting statement on Dilaf there.
Yeah, everyone's starting to notice that he's the actual threat. I just always think it's very cute when people notice Dilaf, who is so unassuming. I just imagine him lurking around and be like, that guy, he's doing something. Like,
unassuming, he's giving sermons all the time and stuff.
Yeah, but he's just this young-looking, kind of like religious guy. You don't think that he's dangerous or like capable of all that stuff.
I think he's just a crackpot guy.
Yeah, also they probably don't think he's that ambitious or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just an artist while they have a Yorn in the city.
Mm-hmm.
He's a low station person too.
So then Sarene is happy when she sees that Iadon is at the party. She asks Ash to keep an eye on him and to tell her if he ever leaves. When Sarene asks if Royal wants to join Iadon's private gathering, he declines. Royal states that Iadon is looking for someone to replace Baron Eden, and every minor noble is there making a play for that. And then Sarene, she sees Shaod dancing with Tarina, and she gets jealous. She's not jealous that Tarina is the one with Shaod. She's jealous that Shaod has the opportunity to court, fall in love, and be swept up in romance. Royal jokes that Shaod has spent years trying to stay away from the women, but now he has wound up falling.
For her? Oh.
What?
For her?
What do you got against her?
Oh, she's just kind of dull, that's all.
We barely know her.
Yeah, I bet she's just kind of a pretty girl that's normal. I just had so much higher ambitions for Shaod, that's all.
You just want everyone to fall in love with Sarene because you're reading from her point of view.
She's clearly the better catch, that's all. I'm biased.
Your theories are all falling apart. Your love theories, while my murder
theories
I know.
Are all together.
You're just jealous.
I'm scrambling. I am. I'm even in the section where Sarene and Raoden, the one thing that could go right is wrong. Stressed about it, actually.
Justin, I wouldn't say all our love theories are going awry. I mean, we do have a wedding coming up.
Not wrong.
That's true.
And throughout this party, you also have some other women at the court are all giving Sarene glares because just as a reminder that Sarene thinks about is that Royal is the most eligible bachelor in K, and that since this was a party at his place, a lot of the women were probably planning on trying to make a move on him. And Sarene, she thinks back to when she realized that she had intimidated the court in Shaod. And when she did that, she then decided to try to adopt a subservient, docile temperament. A young count named Greyo took a chance on the newly tempered Sarene, and the two of them became engaged at the risk of mockery from his peers. But Sarene broke off the engagement because she realized that she was being unfair to him. She had taken advantage of his simple ingenuousness. She felt it was better for him to feel the scorn of being refused at the last moment than to live the rest of his life with a woman who would stifle him. Rumors spread that she had led Greyo on simply to make a fool of him. He left the court and lived the next 3 years holed up in his lands like a hermit. After that, no man dared to woo her.
It was interesting to hear about Serene's, exes or ex-loves and things like that. She tried to do that. The reason she broke up with him, I believed it. That's who she is.
And And then after that, she became immersed in her father's diplomatic corps. She served as an envoy in the major cities, and then after she began trading letters with Raoden and became engaged, she allowed herself to hope again. And then Lukul and Jala come up to Royal and Sarene, and they talk. Once again, Sarene gets upset seeing, the young couple together and happy. Lukul picks up on this and excuses himself. Royal tells Sarene that she can't go running every time she sees someone in a stable relationship. She says that she's just had a difficult week and just needs a few more days. Sarene notices that Telri is holding his own private gathering at the ball. She compares his and Iadon's gatherings, and they are both about the same size, but Iadon's has the more important. Ahon and his wife come over to Royal and Sarene. His wife has been losing weight ever since they had begun the fencing practice. Ahon jokes that he wouldn't have allowed this fencing if he knew that his wife would lose her figure. Royal tells Ahon that Ahon's caravans will need to hurry because Royal's own caravans will wind up beating them to, I think they were going to Sforden. Ahon laughs and says that Royal has got him once again, but he will get the better of him one of these days. After Ahon leaves, Royal says that, it was more of Lukul's doing. Ahon has been trying to get the best of Royal for 2 decades now, and one of these days he will realize that Royal is only acting brilliant. And now is when Ash comes up to Sarene and says that Iadon has left the party. Sarene leaves to follow and ignores Royal when he tells her not to go. Iadon has slipped out of his carriage, and the carriage that is leaving the party is just a ruse. Sarene follows Iadon as he sneaks through the alleys of Kay. Eventually, Iadon enters the sewers and was joined by half a dozen men. And during this, Sarene, she begins to believe that maybe Raoden is alive, and that Iadon is hiding him in the sewers instead of keeping him in the dungeons. Ash tries to stop Sarene. Tries to stop Sarene from going to the sewers, but she convinces Ash to continue. She goes in the sewers and follows after Iadon. She had specifically chosen this day for Royal to host the party because of Iadon. It is the day and the time that she always hears movement in the walls, and she knows that Iadon couldn't ignore a ball held by one of his dukes. But if his sneaking out was important, then he would have to do that as well.
I was starting to really feel happy that we were going somewhere towards what I was hoping, but it was more for the Iadon being a big part of things, not the other direction we wound up going.
Yep. Sarene notices that the floor, declines and she winds up falling down. When she looks up, she sees Iadon standing at an altar. He is naked except for the blood on his chest. He has a red-streaked knife raised in his hand. A woman with her torso sliced open from neck to crotch is tied down on the altar. A dozen men with black robes with Duladin runes sewn on them stand behind Iadon.
Dear God, did that escalate fast.
That was horrifying.
When she fell out, even when I'm reading, she locked eyes with Iadon. I thought, oh man, how's she going to run away from just these regular guys standing here? I didn't expect ass naked, splitting a woman open that graphically, too. That was just so shocking. With just a look of like, oh, fuck, we've been caught on his face.
Jesus, yeah. All this time I've had this kind of image of what Iadon looks like in my head. But to put that image in this situation was really horrifying. Because he was just this kind of
in your head or something.
No, but he's just like a normal guy, he's like this normal, non-threatening guy, or kingly type, but then to just see him, like I just imagine it like this scene would have been, just like traumatizing to see.
Right, so the men in the robes, they come towards Sarene with knives, and she screams out. And then Eondel shows up and fights them off, followed behind by some of his men. Delof is also there, but he's not joining in the fighting. Royal grabs Serene's arm and helps her up. Later on, Sarene is talking to Royal and Lukul in Royal's study. Ash had contacted Royal via, Royal Seon almost immediately after Sarene had left the party. Royal had told Eondel, and they followed after her. The Jeskari mysteries sometimes involve sacrifices. Delof had pointed out on the altar, that written in the woman's blood were instructions to destroy Sarene. Iadon was likely involved in the mysteries for a long time, possibly even before Elantris fell, and he was the leader of that particular band. The other people in the band were minor nobles, nobody that could challenge Iadon. And Dilof was there in the sewers because he saw Eondel's men gathering and decided to follow them.
Oh, I bet Dilof loved seeing that. He's, I bet that goes exact because he does not like Iadon, But God, what a loser Iadon is to be saying "kill Sarene" instead of just being like a real evil king and having her killed himself with some brilliant ploy to do so.
Didn't it say that he kind of was like into it?
She said that he clearly enjoyed it. Like, he wasn't just doing it, but he was enjoying it, which make of that what you will. I know what I made of it.
Ew, no.
I mean, completely naked, there's no reason she wouldn't see just how much he was enjoying it.
That's
He was
messed
standing
up.
behind an altar.
Yeah, we don't know how tall that altar was. And we don't know how excited he was either.
Ugh. I'm kind of embarrassed for Raoden because I'm like, that's your dad. Like, he's messed up.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's going to be some shocking news for Raiden to find out.
Yeah.
Eshin, it's like, oh yep, your husband, he's been kidnapping and murdering these
All
women.
your servants.
And her
Yeah.
response would be,
You know,
yes. Look at these drapes. Aren't these drapes fabulous? She'll just start talking about everything else.
Right.
Also, what kind of idiot kidnaps from your own help at your own palace? Like, people are already starting to put together, man, people are going missing a lot nowadays. You've got all those poor vagrants over in the other cities. You could go grab some of them. No one would ever know.
He likely was. I mean, if he's been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Just figured take the servants and just be like, oh yeah, they left.
Mm-hmm. You can only do that for so long, though. I mean, he was starting to get reckless, is all I'm saying.
Well, he would not have been caught if Sarene did not follow him. And then, at the end of the chapter, Ahon enters, and, his quote was, "First you poise the king, then you rescue him, and now you dethrone him. Would you please make up your mind?" And he tells them that there's no chance of keeping this undercover because Dilof has already announced it to half the city.
Mm-hmm.
Sarene knows that their group have some heavy planning to do, and most of it will be damage control. All right. Anything else from this chapter you two wanted to go over?
I just want to say, Sheta, I bet now when I say my next batshit insane theory, no matter how stupid it is, you're going to be thinking, that's probably true.
I am. I've completely changed my opinion.
Then be so disappointed when it's just batshit insane and makes no sense at all.
I could not believe you were right. Yeah.
Well, I'm not kidding. All the evidence was there. That wasn't from nothing,
Yeah, but he just didn't seem interesting enough to be like that, like have a whole thing. But
yeah, but how else would you square the secret passage to the king's room and servants going missing?
For
those
me,
two plot threads. Where else would those go?
I thought it was too obvious. I thought that maybe he was having mistresses and he had once they I don't know, got pregnant or didn't want to do that anymore, he sent them away or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would seem like it was sinister, but turned out to be something not important like that. That's what I thought it.
Yeah, Justin's next batch of crazy theory is going to be something like Raoden and Dilof are the same person.
Yep. All the evidence.
Oh my
You've never
God.
seen them in a scene together at the same time, Sheta. Raoden can sneak out of the city too. Yeah.
I had a theory like that actually. I thought that. Oh man, I think King Iadon is Galadin. I think he's sneaking out to meet him or to go to Elantris and be his son's.
Such an interesting theory. There's
Yeah.
so many holes in it, but that's a really interesting one.
I thought about it for a second. I was like, no, that's that.
Well, all the clues about how he's more learned than he acts, right?
Yeah. I was like, for sure.
He just wants to bond with his son more. Is that?
Yeah. And they became
God.
more close friends at the last chapter.
That would have been absolutely horrible, Sheta. Well, have we seen Galadin since then? That's the question.
Well, maybe now he's just full time gonna be in Elantris. He just maybe there's no. They just staged the what later.
Yeah, that sort of thing kind of makes me think with, Song of Ice and Fire. One theory that a lot of people have is that Euron Greyjoy and Daario Naharis are the same person. Doesn't quite, explain how, Euron Greyjoy would be in the Iron Islands one chapter, and then in Marine the next chapter.
Teleportation.
Shit, you
There's
got me.
magic.
Yeah.
Oh.
I never thought of the teleportation. Always need to keep that in mind for anything.
Mm-hmm. Until a story explicitly tells me teleportation doesn't exist, I always assume it does. Makes it really strange for like slice of life comedies.
The TV show Friends never said teleportation does not exist.
Exactly. So that's how I assume they were getting around.
I'll say in this chapter, I did like reading a little bit of, I got rid of a lot of it, but just Ahan and Royal just joking, be like, oh, yep, you're going there, but you're not going to make any money because I'm making all the money. Oh, you.
Yeah. That frenemy kind of thing.
And after he leaves, it's like, yeah, I'm only making money because of Lukel. He just came to me, and it's just like, oh, all right, yeah, I'll go in on this.
I like him saying, yeah, I want to keep him on his toes and make him think that I am a genius. But I'm not. I'm tired.
I'll say one thing that with me going through the story at this slower pace for myself is I'm able to catch on more with a lot of these side characters. This last time when I read through the story, I just read through it, pretty quickly, a couple days and everything, enjoyed it. But now going through reading, a couple chapters each week and then discussing it, really, paying more attention to the side characters. Like I'd forgotten how, Aeon's just pretty funny. And how much of a badass Eondel is.
Yeah.
And
I like him every time. He's like, oh, and then Eondel's there, kicking ass, saving people.
And certainly made stuff like Seolin's death, have more impact this time than last time. Where before it was like, yep, he's one of the guards. And now it's like, oh, okay, it's just one of the positives of going slower and then discussing everything is.
The second one is like, Spirit, we're going to fucking die if this plan doesn't work. I thought it was so funny to go back when they said that about they've got a plan to trap them. That's why I thought, oh, a plan to trap them? That sounds like it'll work, even though they gave no details. So even though he says we're going to die when we go out there, and when he says that, I'm like, or they're going to get through eventually, I'm like, oh, he's fucked. But then when they're like, maybe the trap will work, I'm like, oh, he's totally safe.
No. When he kept getting injured, I was like, his days are numbered. Like, he's already older, and he keeps putting himself in harm's way. He's numbered as in he's gonna go Hoid or get decapitated. I'm sad. He was one of my favorites.
He would be. He seems like a character you'd like a lot.
Mm-hmm. He would be played by
not yet.
Oh yeah. Wait
you
for our fan
that.
casting.
Yeah, write it down.
I already did.
All right.
We all know you were going to say Rick Moranis, Sheta.
Stop! Now I can't stop thinking about it.
I failed you,
all these very sad sentimental scenes. Rick Moranis. Oh.
Trying to think if I've seen Rick Moranis in a more of a serious drama role.
I haven't.
He's probably
Ghostbusters 2, Joe. He was a serious drama role there.
Probably done it. I mean, okay, Spaceballs. All right.
Yep. He played the terrifying villain.
I was kind of scared when I was a kid to see him be a bad guy because he's usually the very nice guy. Stupid.
All right. So,
Stupid
lastly, anything else in this Sarene chapter?
Oh, I thought it was interesting that Sarene and Royal also thought Dilaf was a young man too, like because we were just talking about how he's actually older than he looks. I love seeing anyone else talk about Dilaf. It's really interesting. I think, like I already said, go ahead,
admit, when we started this, I did not expect that you were going to just fall in love with D-Lop.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it the second he came in. I'm like, that is Sheta's favorite character right there. It's one of your favorite archetypes or
It
archetypes, however you
is.
say it.
It is, and they usually don't get big parts and things, so I'm just so glad he's such a big character in here.
All right. Well, on to chapter 33. Another Hrathen chapter, so another like 1 page,
Page and a
2
half.
pages. So pretty much this one, it's Hrathen. He stops praying. He looks up at the eclipse, and he finally understands what has prodded the Jeskers to regard nature with religious wonder. He can see how a primitive culture can worship the moon, and he knows that he could never have such emotions. He has found an answer and has comfort in it. He is not a zealot. He follows Shudareth because he has been given a logical intellect, and the religion makes sense. Hrathen eats the food from his basket, and he stares up with a renewed resolve. He might lack passion, but he has determination. And then Hrathen begins praying again. And that's the chapter. So pretty much this chapter is just Hrathen finally, overcoming his crisis of faith and realizing what he wants.
It was interesting to see the answer he came up with, all that prayer, but he's just not a man of faith in that way, I liked what he says, with what his God gave him to be a logical man, basically.
I was happy for
Anything?
him to find his I think
Oh, you
it's
should be
interesting.
hoping he stays in a crisis. He's going to be dangerous now, Sheta.
I was that's what I was gonna say. Like I'm happy for him, but I'm also like he was almost gonna come to the right side, so I'm not happy for him.
He was never going to come to the right side, but
How is he gonna tell Sarene his feelings if he doesn't do that?
yeah, I think that that is not there. It's just not there at all, Sheta.
But that would be the
It's some
best
fan
thing.
fiction you made up. There's been no evidence of it for
That's not
half the book.
true.
That
He
is
like
true.
he was interested in her as soon as he saw her, and then she also noticed him, and they've had a tete.
I've noticed a lot of people in my life. That didn't mean I fell in love with them.
Yeah, and he's had like some talking sparring matches with Omen. Does that mean he's in love with Omen?
Oh, don't ask.
I was gonna say that I really um I thought it was a good idea to have someone like Hrathen who's so logical. Like usually in things, people like that get like shook by real life stuff, to let them have their faith or get back on
Yeah, like
or that kind of thing.
some spiritual thing gets them back. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
like they got to have
Like
some
this,
kind of
yeah.
experience to to
hmm
find out who they are again. So I felt like he had done. I think that's why he took the potion so rashly. Like he wanted something like that because he was being so tested.
Well, you're saying that his is good for his character, right? Where he didn't have an outside force prove to him that his faith existed and stuff. He had an internal thing where he came to terms with his place in it. Correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like he went through a personal journey by going through a fake Shaod because he was how people like fast or like do things to have a like a
Ah,
religious experience, like or go
so
take a bunch of drugs and go in a tent. Like he kind of did
you're,
that
you're
by
saying he
doing
cheated and
this.
gave himself his own religious experience?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he kind of fell for his own con there by being like, you know what? It worked. Like I totally believe again, like I know that I just took a potion, but it's like he tricked himself into really believing again. And I think feeling like the real things, like hungry and tired and all that stuff, like makes you feel something is more real. So that's all I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next chapter. All right, so chapter 34. Raoden was wrong about Shaor's men. A few of them came to him to cook the food and remembered their humanity, but the majority of them did not. The rest came to Raoden because he had wound up dethroning their god. He had entered Shaor's territory and left unscathed, while also bringing food. Shaor's men killed Shaor and brought her bloody wig to him as proof. Raoden tried to bring their minds back, but it doesn't work. So Galladon names them the Kayana, which means the insane. And now Raoden...
Just that's effed up that they killed the little girl.
Yep, and that's one thing where Brandon Sanderson had talked about where, he knows that some people, since, there wasn't a body there, they're going to think that maybe she's not actually dead and she could come back. Brandon Sanderson has said it's more because he did not really want to write about a bunch of wild men bringing the torn up body of a child.
Yeah. Well, when I read that, I read it wrong the first time when they're and they threw it on the floor. I thought it was her head at first. I had to go reread it to be like, okay, it's the wig. It's the wig.
Yeah. I read it like that too, though. I read yeah, she's dead, but no one needs to see that. So, I think he did a good job writing it where I'm she's not coming back unless I'm wrong. So.
Alright, so Raoden, he has been teaching Galladon and Karada whatever he learns about the Aeons and Aeondor. The pain is still becoming greater for Raoden. He has been in Elantris for 5 weeks, but he doesn't believe that he'll last another 5 weeks. Galladon questions why Raoden is teaching them. Raoden tells them that if something happens to him, then someone needs to continue his work. And Raoden tells them that he has figured out what the slime is that's covering Elantris. Before the Raod, Elantris glowed with light. There are fungi and mold that live on light. The door's illumination was different from ordinary light and attracted a different kind of fungus. A thin, translucent film grew on most things in Elantris. So then when the light faded after the door went away, that fungus rotted and it became the slime.
Interesting to finally learn what that was.
Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a really cool justification for it, too.
Mm-hmm.
Had to do with the magic, but it wasn't actually magical itself. And Raoden mentions he cannot find a single book that says how to make seance. He has found some talking about the passing of seance, though, because people can pass their seance on to another person. And seance and their masters are connected in some way, which is why seance go bad whenever their master is taken by the Shaod. And the chapter ends when Dash comes in with a confused look on his face, and he tells them that the Yorn has been healed. All right. Anything else from this chapter you two wanted to bring up?
No.
I think so. I think we covered everything.
So move on to the last chapter of this section, chapter 35. So it begins Sarene talking to her father about how Iadon has hung himself. Sarene believes that Eondel snuck the rope in because a suicide will restore some dignity to Iadon instead of an abdication.
God. That's when I was like, well, there goes my Iadon imperative. If he's not around anymore, he's not going to be the one responsible for everything. Unless, Sheta, he faked his death to go back in and pretend to be Galladon the whole time? Huh?
Yes. Yep.
I think it's funny how much nobody really cared that he killed himself. Everyone was just like, yep, he killed himself. Nobody liked him. Once he turned out to be a murderer, everyone didn't care about him even more. This guy had no friends.
No. Nobody liked him. He made himself king and he kept himself king by making up rules to keep him that way.
This one kind of goes along with a joke from Sarene's first chapter where she was talking to her father and it ended with him being like, now, Sarene, I don't want to hear in a month that, Iadon has been dethroned.
Yeah.
She's just like, I'll do it in 2. And no, she winds up doing it in less than 2 months. All right. Sarene questions her father about how he knows about, Iadon hanging himself. And her father tells her that he has a spy in K. When she prods, he won't tell her who it is. And then just... What?
I'm asking Sheta if she has any guesses.
Well, he says you don't know him, but I don't know. I'm gonna guess it's just his brother, and they've actually made up, and they're fine.
I'm guessing her Seon.
Ah, interesting. Well, she even says that it's probably a Seon, right?
It's probably just going to be some guy we've never met before who's been watching the whole time.
It's D-Lof.
No, absolutely.
Okay, that was, probably not.
You don't gotta hang your head in such shame, Sheta.
It'll just be something mundane like Sarene talks in her sleep.
And this guy's just listening the whole time.
And then it goes on about how the two of them then joke a little bit about how Serene's mother, forces Eventio to diet. And, before Eventio has to leave to hold court, he tells her that once they had learned about Iadon's death, Elon, the patriarch of Shu-Korath, commandeered one of Teod's fastest ships and set sail for Erelon. And Sarene is...
This guy.
Yeah,
He sounds like
Serene's...
the kind of guy I'm going to like.
Yep, Serene's not a big fan of him.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
The patriarch of
Zayn Alon.
Okay.
Then we jump over to Sarene and her group of guys, talking in Kaon's dining room. And Lukel says that Telri definitely intends to take the throne. Eondel says that his legion back Royal, but Ahan responds that Eondel's legion isn't here. Right now, Eondel barely has a dozen men, and the Elantris City Guard have left their posts and set up camp outside Telri's mansion. Even though they aren't well trained, they are still over 600, and that would easily take down Eondel's 12 men.
No, I liked how they were almost... he was almost thinking, I bet they could take him, though. Or like, he was like, they're not as well trained as my men. It made me really want to see that fight and see how many they could take down.
I think the other thing, too, is that, since we know that there's, the men don't really fight under Iadon's leadership, instead of talking about, yep, I have a legion, he has a legion of like thousands or a legion of like 10,000s. It's like 600 and like a dozen. All right, so the group, they have been thinking about this problem for the last 2 days. Even if they had Eondel's military might, the other nobles would be reluctant to support Royal because Telri is the wealthier man. And so Shuden hesitantly comes up with a suggestion. Sarene steals a large wealth from Raoden. With Iadon's death, the marriage contract is technically void. And so if she were to marry Royal, then their wealth would wind up surpassing Telri. Also, the nobles would rather keep Iadon's line going, and this would technically be that with Sarene. Sarene takes a breath, and she agrees.
Wow. Hold it. Just kidding.
So, I don't know if that counts as a called it. You thought there was going to be a whole...
Called it.
A whole, like, everyone's with Sarene situation.
So far, yeah.
Well, I'll have to go back. I remember a past episode, I legitimately asked you both if Sarene and Royal would get married. And I don't remember what Justin would have said no. I don't remember if she said yes or no.
I probably just said, like, they would all admire and like her, but I didn't think they would be married.
All right. So, afterwards, Royal is bringing Sarene back to the palace in his carriage. Because right now, she is still, even though Iadon's dead, she's still staying in the palace because that does still give a look. And Royal tells Sarene that it will only be a political marriage. There's not going to be any need for heirs. And, they'll take power, they'll get rid of this monetary system, and in a few years, he will pass away. Then Sarene can pick whomever she wants to be with, and her children would wind up inheriting the throne. Sarene talks about how the throne then at least would be a tempting prize, even if they'd have to be with her in order to get it. Royal tells her that she's far too harsh on herself. She is an excellent judge of character for everyone except for herself. She's had misfortune in the past, but she will still find someone to love her. She thinks about this, and perhaps she does have hope.
That part was nice because we followed chapter after chapter of Sarene being down on herself. And I'm like, bitch, I'm in your head. You're pretty cool. You also sound pretty and everything. Like, everyone's clearly in love with you. So it's nice to see somebody point that out to her, in this very low moment for her, too.
Yeah, I thought that was really sweet, and I thought, maybe you could marry him. He seems nice. Yeah, no, I'm glad to have someone say that to her. It was really well said. I was kind of worried because he was talking kind of like an old perv in the beginning, but he said he was just joking mostly about the young ladies doing their duty if he did marry them.
I don't think he was joking, but I think he's not going to force her to do that.
So they decide that the wedding will be on the same day as Iadon's funeral, because that is when Iadon's reign technically ends. So that means they will be married in 4 days. And then they hear shouts of joy and excitement. Sarene looks out of the carriage and grows numb when she sees Hrathen walking down the street with his flesh completely healed. And that's where we end for our chapters for this week. Anything else from this chapter you two wanted to go over?
Well, I didn't expect her to have to marry an old man, that's for sure. But I did always wonder, why don't you guys pool your wealth together? Which they kind of talked about before, but not really.
Mm.
So this really
No, I
makes
don't.
sense
I
as
think we
their way
covered
to go
everything.
against Telri.
So then jump back to our once again our critically acclaimed section where I ask you questions and you answer them.
Which critics are acclaiming this? I sure haven't seen the awards yet.
All the critics, like Leonard Maltin.
Oh, Leonard Maltin, eh? He gave Laser Blast 3.5 stars.
No, he gave it 2 out of 3 stars.
2 out of 3 stars. Higher than he gave 2001, I believe it was.
2 out of 3 is not bad.
That was the joke. It's a terrible movie. It was on Mystery Science Theater, and then they list off all the movies he gave a lower review to.
Sounds like a loser.
No, I don't know. He must have had an off day that day or something.
I hate critics, so I don't care.
I feel like some critics, you take it with a grain of salt. Some of it I look at, it's like, all right, I can understand that. But you also kind of have to know who the person is.
Yeah,
Like,
the only critics I'd like are ones that I know and trust. Random-ass critics might as well get a random guy on the street's opinion.
Which is why most people get their critics from YouTubers.
Yeah.
For some of the bigger name ones, especially like the 80s and 90s, you always kind of knew what they would go for. Like Roger Ebert. He was not a big horror movie fan, so he always gave low ratings to horror movies.
Well, that's okay, because I'm not a huge Robert Ebert fan, so boom.
Why they didn't just, if he doesn't like him, just not have him review him, I don't know.
Because they like forcing him to watch them? That would be funny.
Well, you gotta watch every movie when you're the critics at that level, or at least pretend to watch every movie.
That question. All right, so all right. First, all right, I guess I'll just ask you guys if before the end of this book, will Raoden and Sarene meet again?
Yeah. Not
How many
only will they
chapters
meet,
left?
everything will be cleared up.
What'd you say, Sheta?
How many chapters are left?
Oh,
can I know that or not?
I won't really say the chapters because there's a lot of short chapters.
Yes. How much of the book is left?
We're gonna have 3 more recording sessions of this.
Okay.
So 3 more chunks. But like I said, the end of this thing, chapters get, as you notice with this section, chapters are a lot shorter. So there's
they have to meet again.
It's like we have 3 more recording sessions. So we have almost 30 chapters left. Right now, will Sarene and Royal get married?
That's a tough one.
Why wouldn't they?
I don't think so. I think Royal's going to be killed by Telri.
That's awful.
You know what? I don't think Telri's going to give it up that quickly.
You've called everything so far.
I know you'd know every theory with no evidence that I'd just say.
Well, my only... I'll go ahead.
Oh, no, go.
I just... With the way his style is, every time I think, oh, that's a nice moment, something bad happens to him. So, except for Iadon.
Or,
that was not a nice moment.
Yeah, it might be worse, actually. Hrathen may come in. He's now healed from the gods. And he could just turn this whole narrative in a direction we aren't prepared for now, actually, So maybe it won't even just be Telri. Maybe Hrathen will do something like a big move,
Yeah. Well, you called it again. I don't even know why I'm trying.
I don't. Those are 2 contradictory statements, though.
I think that, maybe they will get... I think it would be funnier, not in a actually funny way, but if they did get married and she was widowed again, like right away.
That's actually pretty good too, Sheta. How many times can we widow Sarene in one book?
Let's go.
You don't think that they'll get married? You don't think there's a scenario where they'll get married and Sarene will decide, you know what? Maybe I will have his kids.
Ooh. She's
don't
kind of
think so.
desperate. He's been
This
really
isn't
nice.
George R. R. Martin here.
Yeah, I don't think she finds Royal attractive at all.
Oh,
They've
he didn't say
described him.
he was gonna. Oh no, nothing,
What?
nothing. Go on.
To be honest, even with George R. R. Martin, that's not really what happened. I mean, you had Dany in the beginning, but with Sansa and Tyrion, they never worked on an
I'm
heir.
talking more about enjoying these incredible age gap, forced awkward romance moments. It's a running theme in his stuff. That's all I'm saying.
At least here,
Not,
Serene's 25.
I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying.
Just oh no, I have to marry a 16-year-old. Dang. And it's gonna be so awkward.
16.
Like that.
You're being too
I'm
gracious to the
sorry.
wagon there.
Barely 15, 14.
You're not remembering very well, are you, Sheta? I think it was 13 for Sansa, wasn't it?
12 or Dany was 13. Sansa was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Don't forget
Boy.
don't forget there was also the marriage that was a baby.
Who
Granted,
had married?
that the Lannisters wanted Lance. They married, I think, like a 6-year-old, to a baby,
Mm.
and then the 6-year-old was believed to have been killed. So, the baby was widowed before she was even off the breast.
Oh, cute. A little widow baby.
All right. So, with Hrathen figuring out, his whole crisis of faith, will he take back the power from Delof that Delof's been getting?
I've been thinking about that, and I'm not sure because I don't think it's just going to be that simple, because then what would have been the point of doing any of this? He's probably just going to start, maybe Delof will start worshiping Hrathen now that I think about it, I mean, he was cured by the gods.
Yeah, maybe he'll respect him again.
So at this point in the story, is this going to push Hrathen to be more of that pure antagonistic role?
Yeah.
I'm sad. Now he's pushed way to the other side.
So, Hrathen still has one more of those Shaod potions. Will he use it on anybody? And if he does, who?
Well, Sarene would be the obvious one to get rid of her. That's all I could think of. But I don't think so, because he wouldn't want her to then be cured.
I don't know if he'll use it. You know what? Maybe he's gonna wait till a very opportune moment. Like, maybe when, people are super distrusting of Elantrians, then he's gonna slip it to someone he doesn't like.
Yeah, that I can't guess. That's definitely a Chekhov's gun sitting right there, ready to go, but
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to go.
So, who will be the next king of Arelon?
Elry.
Royal.
Oh, we're at odds here, Shita. There's no way things go well here in the last third or whatever of the book. Things got to go horribly. That's my belief.
Probably just gonna be Sarene.
Hell, maybe Hrathen will take the throne as their new god king.
Yeah, but he doesn't really want to do that. But I
He'll
don't know,
do
he's
whatever
kind of
his duty is.
he's changed. I think he's I don't know. Seeing the light again has changed him.
So this week we had 3 major deaths, because you had Shaor, Iadon, and Seolin. If you had to guess, let's throw out 3. We'll just do 3 major characters that will die by the end of the book. Who else do you think it would be?
You go first, Shita.
Me?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see. Well, sadly, you're probably not wrong about Royale being killed. I feel like Telri too, he's kind of in a dangerous position. So Royale, Telri, and I want to say, I don't know, but I feel like if Shuden died, it would be really sad. So I will say Shuden.
Shuden's a good one. That would be really sad. Yeah. He didn't cross my mind as one of the possibilities, but that is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine are Royal. He's doomed. He's just doomed. Then Hrathen or Delof, but I don't think both of them. And then Kine. I just killed Kine. I'm sorry.
Ooh, Uncle?
Yep. I didn't
Uncle,
mean
why
to,
you
but
kill
I just did it.
Uncle?
It'd be so tragic. We'll find out his curious dark past, and then he'll do a sacrifice. No,
Maybe
one of the Seons. One of the Seons instead of Kine. Yeah, Serene's Seon. That's my guess.
All right. Anything else you guys wanted to talk about for the chapters that we did this week?
not really. A lot of pieces moving, but
Yeah. It's interesting, every section we do, things seem to, I mean, this is how a book would normally go, but things seem to be moving faster and faster, So I expect next time half the cast will be dead at this rate.
Justin, stop predicting things. They're gonna come true.
Well, you should be glad he took Kaine off the kill list.
Yeah.
Oh, who's your favorite character? Shit, I'll put them on.
No, Dilaf.
Oh, I already put
Leave,
D-Lop on.
leave him alone.
Justin said Hrathen or Dilaf. Pick
Mhm.
one.
Oh, I can't. It's going to be one or the other. They're in a frickin' what's it called? With the cat in the box. One of those things.
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, they're in one of that situation.
They're both dead and alive at the same time.
Until I open the box, then I'll see. Schrodinger's Dilaf, as Sheta would like to call it, I'm sure.
I would not like to call it that.
Well, let's jump over to the favorite characters and quotes for the week. I'll start, with my character of the week would have to be Eondel for just being a total badass in two different scenes.
Which scene?
I really like.
You gotta describe the scenes.
That's what fine. Yeah, because when the Shaor's men attacked, he just jumps in and starts fighting them all off on his own. And then later, when the cult people were coming after Sarene, he just came in and started fighting them. So 2 different times, he just shows up and saves Sarene and acts like a badass.
Right. Well, my favorite in these chapters was Iadon for being a psychotic cult leader. And for nakedly murdering people. That's always going to get somebody in my corner for favorite characters.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and for crying like a little bitch. I thought that was very, very interesting too.
Yeah.
A king should not openly sob where his guards can hear him.
Right. I think he's kind of going through something. Like, I think he has a lot of issues. Because you don't just do that kind of thing without having issues and stuff. Like, he's fucked up.
And then doing the committing suicide like a coward. That's the last straw on that. Made him more interesting to me than he's been for the whole book.
I imagine, like, freaking Eondel just holding the rope. Like, come on, man, just do it. Like, I'm trying to help you here. Like, I'm offering you some last shred of dignity here. And him crying the whole time. Sorry. That's too funny. Alright, well, I really liked Hrathen in these chapters because he was going through a thing, like I was saying, going from being like last, like end of the rope kind of feeling to feeling so elated and like high off of his religious fervor. Like, and he was so funny, like I was saying, praying all loud and thinking all these things about people's pitiful gods. With an honorable mention to Royale, who was a super sweetheart in these episodes, in these chapters.
My honorable mention is D-Lof for dressing up so fancy like he's the new lead guy in the city.
Dude, I'll mention probably Sarene for revealing Iadon's murderous plots.
Yeah, that one's a little more plot relevant than ours, I think.
Well, don't forget, in the past, my favorite characters and stuff were like Aeon, just for being funny.
Sarene was a badass in these ones because she was going through some shit too, but she was still like, I guess I gotta do my super cool plan to reveal the king's stuff. Like, she still went through with it.
I want to say it's actually really sad that she thinks of the theory that his son is still alive, because there's absolutely no evidence for her to think that whatsoever, but just a part of her wants that to be true more than she even knows. So her brain goes there, even though it really makes no sense. That was actually very sad to me.
I know, when she thought that, like, maybe he's still alive, I was like,
Yeah. Why are you
"Oh,
thinking
you're so sad." Like,
that?
like, that's not true, like, at this point, like, that's just so sad. She still has hope for that, which I really want her to find out that he is still alive.
It's been funny that she's so good at so much insight on everyone else and yet none for herself.
Yeah.
So then, quotes of the week. I'll go first because I don't want anybody to steal it.
You bastard.
I just, Royal talking to Sarene. You're far too
Ah,
harsh on your. See,
go ahead.
see, that's why I picked it. I knew what was going to happen. You're far too harsh on yourself. I've heard the way you speak. You assume that nobody wants you. You're an excellent judge of character, Sarene, except your own. Often our own opinions of ourselves are the most unrealistic. You may see yourself as an old maid child, but you are young, and you are beautiful. Just because you've had misfortune in your past doesn't mean you have to give up on your future. I just
That-
like it because I feel like, yeah, because it does seem like something that, not even with romance, but most people in life they're their own worst critics.
Mm-hmm. And it's when it's done to a self-detrimental point like that, it's nice to have somebody like that who you trust come out and tell you you're just straight up wrong about those thoughts.
Yeah, especially here where she feels so alone. Like, everyone's got their own thing going, she doesn't even live here. Like,
Mhm.
that was just very nice to hear. Yeah, that was my favorite quote too, so I'll just say that, like,
Well, you always have
yep.
a backup quote, though.
I don't this time because it's
Oh
like
no! Well, you gotta find one quick. When you guys both stole my quotes, I had to search out and find one.
Yeah, but I don't have a physical book with me.
Oh.
Um, let me think. I'll just think of the part then. You go ahead, Justin.
Uh, mine is just when Hrathen is questioning, about how other people look up at the moon and feel all this worship and stuff. Uh, yeah, saying that, he can see the magical feeling they have, even though their modern sciences say otherwise. And then he thinks he would never have such emotions. He was not capable of a rational veneration. He understood, even if he envied men who could gush praises to a god without comprehending his teachings. Hrathen could not separate fact and religion. Jadith bestowed attributes on men as he saw fit, and Hrathen had been given a logical intellect. He would never be content with simple-minded devotion. And then when he says that that is the thing he'll have to be satisfied with, basically, I thought that was a very interesting glimpse into his internal workings and coming to terms with who he is within his religion and solving his questioning of faith with pure logic and like no faith at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This was the part where Raoden's reflecting on Serene's decision to do her widow's trial and that it actually helped until she was like, or she had proven to the people that no matter how much their hunger hurt, simply feeding their bellies wasn't enough. Joy was much more than an absence of discomfort. So I
Yeah,
really like that part.
that's a good part. Good job, Sheta.
Because, yeah, I'm glad it worked out to his advantage there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do have to learn that, otherwise you'd be like, maybe I just need food. Maybe I don't need to do all this stuff. I just feel like I relate to that a lot too. When you want something, you think that if you have it, then you'll be good. But once you have it, then you learn that that's not what you needed. So I really like that lesson.
Agreed.
All right, so then I'll go into for next week's chapters. As I've said multiple times, at this point we just keep getting shorter and shorter chapters. So next week it's going to be, I believe that's 9 chapters,
What the fuck?
36 through 44.
What the hell is wrong with you?
You'll understand when you read it. Like the
Uh,
total number of pages is pretty much the same.
yeah, well, it's gonna feel like more.
Yeah, This
I'll read 8.5 chapters.
okay.
And
Yeah,
these chapters where multiple characters get a POV really throw me off. Like, because
Yeah, I don't approve.
I because I think of them, I try to remember them as a Raoden chapter or something, but then I'm like, but Sarene just talked. Like, what's going on? Yeah, especially when I'm listening to it, it's hard to visualize it. So
I know other audiobooks, you'll get teams where you'll have like when it's a male POV, you'll have the male, saying it. Then when it switches over to a female POV, it will switch person reading the book.
Oh, really?
that would be
Yeah,
fun. Even though I enjoy this narrator doing Serene's voice, like,
I know with the switching, that's very noticeable. With a lot of Brandon Sanderson's books are done by the Michael Kramer and Kate Redding team. They're a husband and wife. They've been doing audiobooks for a long time. And they did Wheel of Time. They've done a bunch of Brandon Sanderson's books, and they're pretty good at it.
oh,
But yeah, what'll be is Michael Kramer will do the male POVs, and Kate Redding does the female ones.
nice. Justin, do you remember the Twilight ones where they have
Yeah,
they
I
got
hate the Jacob voice so much.
Wait, who did the
I
audio?
don't know who, but the same girl reads all the books, and then suddenly Jacob gets a point of view scenes in the last book, and you get this cool guy who talks like this all the time. And I was like, oh god.
You just didn't like when he had to do the
Oh
little
god,
girl
when that
voice.
guy
Yeah.
was doing the little girl voice, that was horrible. Oh, because they, Joe, in there they imprint is how they
Wait.
fall in
Oh yeah,
love,
go ahead.
but
Yeah.
it's not always at the right age. So you could imprint on somebody when they're young and you won't be attracted to them, but you'll know that when they come of age, you're going to be together. So this guy imprints on this little like 2-year-old or like a little, I don't remember how old she was. And then whenever the guy voice is going from Jake or being like, and then the guy was like, hey, come on out. And then like this man's voice doing, hey, and it's so fucking creepy to me because I'm like, oh God, they're going to fuck someday. I did not enjoy it at all.
Yeah, Joe, you should totally read Twilight.
I
That should
think
be
I
your
just
next
turned him off
podcast.
from ever. I turned him off from ever reading it with that Sheta.
But it's interesting though, right, Joe?
No.
I guess I could go along with the first book because I know that with Michael J. Nelson's podcast, they covered that one.
Yeah, the
See?
books aren't bad or anything. It's just that part.
I like it.
Yeah, they're fine. I have no complaints against them, but I certainly wouldn't read them unless Sheta was telling me to. If you want to hear about how statuesque Edward's abs are many, many times, that's the series to read, that's for sure.
The statue of Adonis.
Mhm.
every time she reads it, she reads it like that. It's fine.
That's our show. And, once again, if anybody looks at the book, you'll see that we are very close to finishing this book. So, like I've been doing the last bunch of weeks, so just let everyone know if you're reading along, be sure to pick up the book Arcanum Unbounded, Arcanum Unbounded, because we'll be reading a short story from there next after we finish this. And that way, if you're having to order and have it shipped in, you'll have time to get that in. And after that, you can pick up, Mistborn, The Final Empire. Might also just be called Mistborn. Or you could also pick up a box set, the Mistborn trilogy, because that will give you the next couple books. So yeah, Arcanum Unbounded and Mistborn, The Final Empire. Now it's going to be what's next. And then we'll go back into our plugs once again. I'll let you guys plug stuff first.
Well, I will plug myself if you go to my Instagram page or TV and Art or Key, as I was instructed to call it. You can
see the most ancient letter.
Yes, the most ancient letter. You can see comics and art of varying quality. Oh, at Profanity Beaver.
Don't you have something else of more monetary value?
Yeah, I'll have a Patreon at that time too, because we're filming this at a different time from when it's being put out. So you can go and give me money. How exciting for you.
Wow, what a
deal.
What a deal, yeah.
No promises of any rewards. Just give me money.
That's cool. I don't have anything exciting like that. I just have my usual Instagram where I post art and cosplay photos at my Instagram, Mermaid Machete, and then just Sheta_low for my art.
Yep,
That's
and then
it.
yep, and then with us, we have, like I said, the key of the most ancient letter, formerly known as Twitter.
That's going to be a
Cos-
thing, isn't it?
oh, I'm gonna do it all the time. Cosmere Chronicles, or Cosmere Chron, you know, COSMERECHRON. I should really put stuff on there that's not just new episode, new episode.
Yeah,
You know
put
what?
some hot political takes on there.
You know what? How about this? If you two come with some idea where it's just like, hey, I like this idea when I was reading this chapter, send me it, and then I'll, tweet it out when we get to that point of the story.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, we have that. There's the YouTube page. If you want to go onto the same thing, the YouTube page is just uploading the podcast episodes. But if you want to go leave comments, leave them on there. And then wherever you're at, do the typical thing, rate us 5 stars, leave us a review so we can read it. And hey, if you give us 5 stars, we'll send you a ham sandwich.
Don't promise that. Somebody will hold us to it.
Are you making the sandwiches?
Well, holding someone to it, I think, because Brandon Sanderson, he had an interview once where he said that every person he dedicates a book to, he always gives them like a sword.
Ooh, that's cool.
But now his most recent book was dedicated to the fans.
Oh no!
So now people are like, "All right, I want my sword."
That's a lot of swords. Even if you just do a tiny keychain sword, that's too much. But you should totally do it, though. That would be cool.
I guess we will not send you a ham sandwich. And then lastly, if you want to contact us directly, say stuff, suggestions, that sort of shit, CosmereChronicles@gmail.com. I'll be the one that will read it first, so if you need to say anything spoilerish, it'd be fine, because the other two will not see it unless I tell them about it. And that'll be it for our plugs. So, once again, next week we're reading chapters 36 through 44. So yeah, until then, everyone, have fun.
Winners don't
Sayonara.
do drugs.
What? Only the good drugs that give you power.